The binding in the Cutaway is a little bit of a puzzle, so I'm sure there's a million other ways to do this, but how I like to do it is I start with my binding, my actual normal binding, and I get that in place first on both sides, and then I fit this piece to here. That kind of eliminates that part of the puzzle, and then I start working on these. But you really have to work one joint at a time. So you start here, you get this fitted, you get your curved piece, you get it fitted to that. That's where you can measure over to here, get it fitted, and so on. So it is complex, and there's a lot of angles to put on this stuff, but if you take it just one angle, one joint at a time, it's a lot easier. Masking tape doesn't have the best grip, and over a little bit of time, things will start to slip around a bit. So I had to start the project by removing the binding piece that I had already installed, and then reinstalling it back in the correct position. When I'm laying out this line, my reference line where my 45 is going to end up being on this piece, the only way I know where it's going to end up out here is if I start at this point right here. If I start at that point and draw a 45 out, that lets me know where the binding is going to end out here. So that's a starting point. Now we got to work from there. I was going to need the Cutaway binding pieces in just a few minutes, so I figured I better get them bent so they'd have time to cool off. Then I took both my binding pieces off and ran out to the sander and put that 45-degree angle on them. Now I'm only going to show you this once, but keep in mind I was out at this sander, probably at least 100 times while I was doing this. So just to save you all the rapidity, the over and over thing, I'm just going to show it to you once. The binding pieces also came on and off about 1 billion times, so I'm going to try and keep that to a minimum as well. Otherwise this video would get really long and very boring. Alright, the first piece is almost ready to be glued in. It fits really nice at this corner down here, but we still have another angle to put on it. When this piece comes around here, it's going to have to split the difference there. So I'm going to have to put an angle this way on that piece to make it match with this piece. So I need to get this piece out and basically get it rough fitted first, and then we'll work on this joint right here. I made some extras just in case. Fitting the curved binding piece on this side actually went pretty easy. I got it on the first shot and everything was going great. Unfortunately, on the other side of the guitar, on the back, things didn't go so great, and I'm really glad I actually made those extra pieces. I wanted you to see just how close we're getting here. Still need to take off just a little bit more off of that piece, and I think I can get rid of that little tiny gap in the corner. After a little bit more sanding, it was time to get some glue on this thing and glue this piece in place. There, that pulled that in really nice and tight. Well, this is that time to cure. Let's see how well it stays in place. See what it looks like. Now, I hope this is right. I didn't show you guys in that last video, but I made a second cut on this channel to make it deeper. And I also made it go in this way a little bit more, but it went in way more than I planned. So we're going to have a little notch in there, but that's okay. But this up here That looks pretty good. I may have to shave this side down a little bit. We'll see when we get this piece up here. Now this is why this gets a little bit complicated. You can see how this comes up straight up this direction. Well, the next piece is going to come in here, and I don't want it to butt into that. I want it to 45 just like these other pieces. So now this little piece that's sticking up actually needs to have a 45-degree angle on it like that. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. That may not be quite a 45-degree angle, but it's close. So we can start working on that next piece. Actually, we're going to put this piece on first. Looks like I'm going to have to trim this one back a little farther. So I'll tape it up here and then remark it and then go sand it again. It took several more tries, but I finally got the binding and the cutaway piece fitting the way I wanted so I could get them glued in place. Okay, I've got it lined up on the point. I've got the 45 cut and it lines up with the edge right here like it's supposed to. So this side is done. Now hopefully, I had to sand this a little bit. Hopefully this is not too short now, but even if it is, I've got those 2 extra pieces. And we're getting lucky. That's coming out right on that point. So I made the measurements right, and that little extra sanding up here actually brought that back into place. So that was a good thing. Got lucky. And I sanded that angle wrong. I'm going to have to replace this piece. I made this one too short again. I got smart this time, or maybe I got scared, and I definitely left it long. So let's see how this works. And definitely have enough room for an angle up there. Oh, that's what I'm forgetting about. We've got it. I'll have to do this angle probably manually down here. Forgot about our little notch. Alright, I think I've got this corner as good as I'm going to get it. So, I'm going to take it back off, put some glue on here, and stick it in place. I got the first one of those pretty good. So now that's, you might see a little line here. That's a shadow line. There's a difference in height there, but there isn't a gap between them. So that should look pretty nice when we sand it up. So now I'll start working on this piece here. All right, wouldn't you know it, the one that is going to be seen the least because it's behind the neck happened to fit really quick and easily. But I want to show you something up here. Don't know if you can see it. Let's see, we've got an angle here, and then we've got an angle there, and an angle there to match up with these angles here. So you can see how that's all mitered in right there and right there. Now, I'm going to have to put an angle right on this seam all the way down here so this piece can fit in with this piece, because right now they're too big. So I'm going to put a 45 on each one of them so they'll just drop in place. I have this fitting pretty good. It may look like there's a line there right now, which there is, but this is higher than the sides and this is higher than the sides. By the time I sand this down after the fact, that will be a nice seam. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this one in place, and all we have left is one more. Actually looks pretty good as is. It's going to look even better when it's sanded. Alright, the fun one. Here we go. Okay, that's it. I finally got the binding on, but it's late and you're gonna have to wait till next time to see how it turned out. So have a good weekend. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe here. Then go to my website, spenceracoustics.com, and just fill out that little 2-line form that pops up so I can contact you when you win the guitar. So have a good weekend, guys. I will see you next week.